as I always like to say, when he starts the recording, I'll try not to swear. Thank you very much.
I make no promises.
There's the humor.
Amanda, nah. There's no rules. per se.
I love this already.
No rules.
No filter button on this.
Joel, is there a filter button on this?
One
Hello,
of those.
friends. And they can hear us at this point, Joel?
I believe so.
And would you throw that question? Is it live in the chat room? In the chat
It
box?
is right now.
So for those of you who are just joining, we're going to wait a couple of minutes, but there's a question in the chat that asks you this fun question. What is one task? I can't see it right now. What's one task that you've done in your job recently that you never imagined you would have to do when you started your work? And I give this example. I bring home the rugs from Teachers Treasures restroom and I wash them. Did I think I would be doing that in my career or when I started this job? Not so much. So if you guys would feel free, reflect on that and then drop your answers in the chat box, and our panel is going to be actually giving us their answers live. And we'll start in about a minute. And hi, everybody.
Happy Friday.
Woohoo!
Also, for those of you who are in the attendee lot list, if you'd also let us know if this is your first time attending one of our wackadoo webinars, and just say hi if you are new to this crew. All these different webinars have different guests, but feel free to say hello in the chat box. And can you guys hear me? I want to know if the attendees can hear us. Fred Weber, if you can hear us, would you say yes in the chat box, please?
It says chat is disabled.
Oh,
Uh-oh.
uh-oh. All right.
I see some hands being raised.
Yep.
Yeah, I tried to drop a chat and it won't go through.
Sorry,
Okay.
guys. Let me work on that. Let's pull survey more. Analyst off.
Head out.
Ooh. Sorry, guys. I am obviously struggling, and we need to find someone younger and better at tech.
All right. Well, Fred Weber texted me that he can hear us. So while Joel is behind the scenes getting ready to make sure we can all do some chit chat, I'd like to just welcome everybody. It looks like we've got 34 people in attendance, which is awesome. And a happy Friday to you all. You'll get to meet our panelists here in a moment for this What I Know Now That I Wish I Knew Then. And when Joel gives us the thumbs up, the question in the chat room is, what's one task that you have done in your job recently that you never imagined that you would have to do when you started this work? So think about that while our crew of panelists say hello. My name is Margaret Sheehan. I work at Teachers Treasures in Indianapolis, Indiana, and we've been around for 22 years. And I'm happy to have brought together this amazing posse. So Karen Calder, why don't I start with you? If you'd introduce yourself a little bit about your organization and some of the basics before we get into the fun thing, the task that you've been doing recently.
Yeah. So do you want me to answer the question at the end of that or just wait?
Let's wait.
Okay. So I'm Karen Calder. I'm the executive director of Classroom Central in Charlotte, North Carolina. And Classroom Central has been around for 20 years. I've been with the organization for a total of 14. I've had 2 tours of duty with the organization. I started back in 2002, was there for about 7 years, left for about 6, and have been back since 2015. And this place has never really kind of left my heart. It's just an amazing organization. And I love, 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 love what I do and the people that I do it with, including everybody on this call. So we've given away about $80 million in 20 years. And, you know, it's ranged some years from, 2.5 to this year we'll give away 7.5. And we're really kind of looking to up our game year over year. We just renovated our building. So that's kind of one of the new things for us. It's an amazing space, definitely worthy of the value that we place on the profession. And we hope that that sends a strong message to teachers as well. In addition to the free store, we also have a mobile unit. We have online ordering with curbside pickup, a subscription box service for brand new teachers. And the only direct to student program that we do is our backpacks and basics. And this past year, we served 35,000 students with that program, meaning they got a backpack filled with school supplies to start the new year off on the right foot. And it was awesome. Oh, you're on mute.
Dave Hargrove?
Yeah, I'm Dave Hargrove. I'm with Trans to Classrooms, Dayton, Ohio. I'm the operations manager here. I've been here since 2016. Next month will be number 7-year anniversary. We've been around since 2009. I've got 30 years experience warehousing, manufacturing. So came from the for-profit world and didn't realize how different the non-profit world was before I got here. And it's been a learning experience, still is every day.
How much better you mean, right?
Oh, hands down. I wouldn't trade it for the world. Unbelievable staff that I get to work with, the volunteers, the teachers. It's night and day. Yeah.
And Dave, did you say what you do there? What your role
I'm
is?
the operations manager, so I take care of the warehouse, donations, distributions, oversee the store. Volunteers come in and work in the warehouse in the store. Clean trash outside, whatever,
We'll get to that in a minute. Yeah. Manda, tell us a little bit about your program and you.
So I'm Manda Hunt, Executive Director of the Empty Stocking Fund, which is probably an unusual name for this group. We came about this relationship very unusually, I think. The Empty Stocking Fund is an organization that was founded in 1927 in Metro Atlanta. And for the first 92 years of our existence, we were a one-trick pony focusing on distributing holiday gifts to disadvantaged children. In 2019, through a long strategic discussion of what are we going to be when we grow up and where do we want to go, we actually acquired the Kids in Need program, which had been housed in and operated by the Atlanta Community Food Bank. So we are relatively new to this. We are still learning so much every day. And we have 2 what I would call primary school supply distribution programs. One is similar to what Karen mentioned, a direct to student program, which we candidly completely copied off of my first ever Kids in Need National Network visit or gathering. And that was from the Education Partnership in Pittsburgh. And we do the same kind of thing, which is we call them student supply kits. And we pack and distribute 30,000 of those last year. Hope to reach about the same level this year. And then the free store for teachers, which candidly, we've only started to really get into because when we acquired the program in 2019, obviously things changed dramatically that very next year. So in Atlanta, at least, students were out of the classroom for a full year. So we didn't really have a need for a teacher store. And so we are now getting really into that, and I'm absolutely loving it. I've been with this organization. I started as a volunteer myself in 2005 and am really enjoying this side of things, and think that it's so neat to see how much the teachers appreciate it and how excited they are. We operate ours is a lot I'm going to call it what it is, uglier than what I've seen from a lot of you guys. Your stores are lovely and I'm so envious. Ours is like a big gray drab warehouse where we set up a bunch of tables and it's like a yard sale. So we're a little bit different, but really enjoying this group and these networking opportunities for us to all share information. So thank you, Margaret, for taking the lead on this. And did I miss anything?
No, but I don't, at the end of the day, giving out that stuff wherever, however you do it is the bottom line. So some, those, you'll figure it out. It doesn't matter, but it
We
does.
try to make it pretty, but it's hard.
I bet you make it fun. I bet you make it fun.
We
though.
try.
I bet you do. All right. And pulling up the rear, Jessica Johns. Muted.
It's only been like 10 years of trying this, right? So my name's Jessica Johns. My staff know who are on here that I'm very tech challenged. So it's not surprising that I started with a mute. So I started this organization 6.5 years ago. We're called the Storehouse. We actually provide resources to both schools, teachers, and then the school buildings themselves. And we do a separate program that we support nonprofits. So we've done about $26 million in the last 6+ years. Primarily more to the nonprofit side versus the schools, but we are increasing our school distribution side as we're gaining product owners supportive of that. So we support about 100 schools right now, which is a little over 100 schools, which is a little over 2,000 teachers, 40,000 plus students that we work with. Our goal is actually to supply all of the low-income schools in the state of Michigan as we bring on more and more local product owners. We happen to live in a community that's probably the most philanthropic community in the United States. I think for several years they were ranked number 2. So we have, I know some of you work with the DeVos organization who owns the Orlando Magic. They're actually, they live here in town. And so they're a big supporter as well as other large billionaire families. During COVID, just since you mentioned it, Manda, we did, we obviously didn't do very many specific distributions out of our school, but because of our product line that brings in, things like appliances and whatever from businesses all over, we actually provided all of our teachers with a personal refrigerator that they could set up a home office to be able to do their Zooms and an office chair. So we tried to do it a little bit differently just because we had the product too. It's not like, we were so amazing and could do something different. But so let's see, I'm looking at my notes here. Our space, I would not describe as pretty. I would say that our staff do an amazing job of keeping it organized and making it more of a retail experience. So people appreciate the experience versus coming for the beauty of it. So I can understand what you're saying, Manda.
Commiserate.
Great.
Yes. I think that's it. Did I miss anything?
Okay. That's awesome. So for the 41 attendees, we just want to say hello again. Again, my name is Margaret, and this gang of folks that are on the panel have been doing this in different ways over the years. And we're just going to reflect today on some of the, their opinions and insights. But there's 2 things we'd love you to do. One is the next question we're going to ask the panel is, and I saw that Ruth already posted one of the things that she's had to do recently that she never thought she'd have to do in her career was to snake a toilet. So again, Dave was just talking about shoveling snow. What are those things? So please drop those in the chat. The other thing I'd love you to do in the chat is if this is your first time with the webinar, we've expanded our roster, which is not a real one, but folks that have free stores that perhaps are not part of the Kids in Need network currently. This is, these are your compadres. We're all like-minded. We're all doing this work in different ways. And just the greatest thing I think about the people, particularly that we've been hanging out with for these many years, is everyone's so willing to share ideas. And like Manda just said, she stole an idea. We stole the same idea from Josh in Pittsburgh. And that's the work. We get to do that and share with each other. So please drop in the chat line if you're first time here. And second, what's something you've done recently that you never thought you'd have to do or didn't think you'd have to do? But let's go back to Karen and start with that question for you. What's one task you did recently that you never thought you'd have to do in your personal career?
Okay, so this week I helped park cars. I cleaned our kitchen. I pulled the weeds out of our landscaping, and I changed the toilet paper in our restrooms. So yeah, not in my job description, but somebody's got to do it. And yeah.
Amen. All right, terrific. Dave, what was something you've done this week or recently?
Well, it's something I do every week and never thought I would do. And we have students from local high schools restock our store, and they're all special needs students. We also have special needs volunteer students and adults that come in every week and help us out. And never thought in a million years I would be working with that demographic on a week on, week out basis, and love it. They're great people to work with, and great attitudes, positive all the time. I'm not surprised. I pick up the trash. I've done that other job, so take care of the snow and salt the sidewalk and all that stuff. But toilet paper, yeah, done it. Yeah, clean the kitchen, yeah, done it. It goes with it. Whatever Steve tells me to do. So.
Yep. Manda, what's on your list?
Oh, so many things. And first of all, I want to say, I hope that there's a way for us to capture all of these chat comments, because I am dying laughing as I read them. This is fantastic. And I'm thanking my lucky stars that so far I have not had to do a lot of these things. I think that, yeah, wait for it, right? I think that I have done, the weed pulling and the yard work things at a warehouse that I never expected. But the biggest thing for me this week that has been the absolute bane of my existence is, and Jessica, I sympathize with you, is technology. I have had network problems, printing problems. My computer does weird things, and setting up new devices for people that need replacements. And we don't have an IT team. And sadly for our organization, I might be the best we have. And so that has been taking up a lot more of my time than I anticipated.
Mm-hmm. Jessica, we'll go to you. And then Joel, I was hoping you'd read a few of the ones that are coming from the chat room after Jess. Okay, please.
So this is definitely not something I ever thought I would do, but we take in products from Amazon. Probably some of you do as well. And so we have sex toys that have made their way to our warehouse floor. So talking about the special needs kids, getting to explain what these things are, not obviously explaining it, but just taking it and doing, dealing with it. So that when my friends hear about moving sex toys, they're always wondering what kind of job I do. And so anyway, definitely
Wow.
And I have to jump in there and say, Jessica, we took one of those, a truckload, as you know, and it has been hysterical, fascinating, frightening. The amount of stuff that comes through Amazon, it is entertaining. It is entertaining.
Okay.
Yeah.
Joel, what's your highlights from the chat box?
We have a lot, and I just also have to jump in. We took 3 of those trucks from Jessica, and it ended up with us being on with lawyers for writing new disclosure and like do not take this to school, and literally the chief of staff of the superintendent asking my CEO, are you giving anal beads to teachers, in all seriousness? So it created quite a December for us. But I mean, never have the teachers been more excited than that load. So a couple of fun ones that I've seen here. Look like Ken got to push a car off a busy road his first week. Raylan had to hoist herself up off of a mobile staircase. So dear Lord on that. Terry broke up a drug deal, so that might be the winner. Way to go, Terry. Keeping Wichita safe. Way to go. So yeah, just lots.
I saw a snake. Dan?
I saw a snake. That
Dan.
Iguana.
Is that Dan
office.
Orlando? It's got to be Orlando, Dan, with the snake. So yeah.
We did have a snake in our bathroom one time. Luckily, I was on vacation.
All right. For those of you who are first timers, I want to let you know that we don't normally discuss sex toys on these webinars.
Sorry.
That's how we're cracking it open today. Okay. Thank you. Let's go to the next question that I have for the panel. what is one hiccup you've had in your years at your current position that you had to learn on the job or maneuver with help? Like, holy crap, I'm over my head here. Something that you wish you knew then or before you had the job. So what's a hiccup you've had, Karen? And then we'll go David, Manda, Jessica, okay?
I don't know if it was a hiccup, but I mean, I came into this job with zero experience. I had never worked with a nonprofit before. I did not know what a 990 was. I'd never seen a P&L, like nothing. I knew how to raise money because I was in sales and marketing, and I knew a lot of people in the community. And I still to this day have zero idea why they gave me this job, but they did. And I'm super excited about it. But yeah, I had to learn everything on the job. I mean, I think probably one of the aha moments for me though, and I still sometimes catch ourselves doing this, is when you're walking people through the space. I think in the beginning, it was more, you know, look how awesome we are and we're so great and you should invest in us. And really kind of turning that around and talking about where we need support and need help has been like where the gap is. Yeah, we are great and we want you to invest in us, but you know, some people could interpret that as, well, that's awesome. They're set. They don't need my help. Let me go somewhere else. And so I think just creating that gap for people and showing them where they can make an impact and they can make a difference was really a game changer for us.
Yeah, I think that's a good point too about what can they do for you. You know, that's why people are in the space. They want to know what can you do for this amazing service. David.
Prior to coming to work at Crayons, I was a plant manager at a manufacturing facility, and if I needed something that we didn't have, I just generally to go out and buy it, or just tell my boss, hey, I'm gonna go buy this. And it took me a minute to learn like I just can't do that. And what's a grant? And how do we get the money? And I have to wait how long to get the money? And I can only buy what with the money, and what's restricted grant versus unrestricted grant. And thankfully my my wife is a long time nonprofit person and gave me a quick education on these things.
Manda?
So I have so many ahas, oops, and things like that. I think one of my favorite sayings for my team, and I will clean up the language a little bit, but I basically say, if you're not up, you're not trying. So I feel like, you know, in our industry, at least it seems it's an ever-changing world, the way people are communicating, the way they're operating, the way people are giving. And so you got to be trying different things, and they don't always work. With regard to the, you know, relatively new program for us, the teacher store piece of things, we didn't have much of a following. We didn't have an existing, so we didn't know what to expect. And so all we did was we put up a web form, and we have evolved quite a bit from this, but to get teachers to sign up, and I crashed our site. So all we did was put up and I didn't let the website people know that this was coming, and because I just didn't anticipate it being what it was. We put up a social media post and then sent an email to people that we knew in our database were somehow associated with education. And man, they spread that like wildfire. And it literally, people are then hammering us with, we're trying to register, but we can't get in. And so really just not thinking through what the response might be and how it could impact our operations was a big one.
Jessica?
Sorry, I wasn't following the train of. So I would say I'm actually going to play right off of Karen's, which is acknowledging, you know, everybody always comes through and says, wow, you know, you've had a lot of growth and you've done XYZ over the last 6 years. That's amazing. But really being humble and just acknowledging what you don't know and inviting, so way beyond funds, way beyond products, but just inviting them to the table to say, we need support in, you know, communication plan, and, you know, how do we better do recycling better, you know, all of these things that I think starting with that humility and just acknowledging what you don't know makes people very interested in working with you. They see that you're organized and that you have a plan in place. And if they can come alongside and support, they're very eager to do so. So
I love
Like-
that. The humility piece. I think that's lovely. And I, again, and you know, those of us been around a while and maybe got some money to paint the walls and make it look pretty, the fundamental piece of this is the work you're doing, Manda. I mean, that's what people want to see. And if you are somewhat organized and you've got that in your heart and that teachers are like responding to that work, I think that's key. Thank you. We're going to shift. Again, we got a lot of people on this webinar, but we kind of, from the panel perspective, we kind of talk a little bit about HR. Because as we, you know, like what you said, Karen's, none of us came from this world. It's highly unlikely that any of us are trained HR professionals. And that for me is always the biggest struggle. And it's always the biggest fear. Like, what if I make I say the wrong thing or I make a bad decision? So let's talk HR. And again, folks that are out there on the attendee side, if you want to drop in any questions for the group, Joel's looking for you to we'll grab those. And then maybe have some time at the end to put you guys on audio. But we're thrilled that there's so many people on the call today. So let's talk HR. Small shops, that's all of us. Generally don't have HR professionals in the office. Currently, where do you get your HR professional guidance? Who does your payroll? What shared services opportunities do you guys have? And what's working for you? Perhaps what hasn't worked? And we'll do the same order. We'll do Karen, Dave, Manda, and Jess. Okay.
All right, well, I'll just kick us off. We do outsource our bookkeeping and payrolls. We have a payroll service, and then they're connected with our retirement 401k. And then our contract bookkeeper comes in once a week in person and does all of our payables, our monthly reports, runs our payroll, all that stuff. But at a higher level, we've always had someone on the board that serves kind of as the HR advisor. And, primarily it's been an attorney. So, someone that's specialized in employment law. Sometimes it's been maybe an HR executive from a major employer in town. So I've always had somebody there to kind of bounce questions off of. But I'll say, kind of one of the things with us, I mean, we're obviously like everybody else, small, but I think one of the things that we've kind of evolved into is just a lot more structure around our organization as we've grown and as we've added more people. We're doing things because we have to be competitive in the marketplace in order to attract the right talent. But so we're doing things like compensation studies and compensation statements for people so that they can understand, hey, it's not just my salary that I'm getting, but this is the value of my benefits and this is the value of my paid time off and, those types of things. And all of that came out of working with board members that were doing these types of things in their own organizations. But I think it just, again, adds a little bit of an element of professionalism to what we do. And I think people, it's really eye-opening for people to see, hey, we're paying $12,000 a year for your benefits. So anyway, just something to think about. Oh, and it's not Karen making up, this low salary that I'm paying you. This is like market rate, right?
Right. Yeah, that's hard. Dave.
I think unlike a lot of the affiliates, we're very, very fortunate. We have a partnership with the local Goodwill Easter Seals, shared services since our inception. They take care of all of our HR, IT, payroll, finance, anything in the backroom stuff, and we pay them. It's not free. We pay them a monthly fee, and if they're HR questions, or I can go to them. Learned a lot over the years of what working for bigger companies, what to do, what not to do. So a lot of experience comes with that. And the folks here too, Steve Rubenstein, our executive director, is a lot of experience in that too. So if we can't figure it out here, we can always go to Goodwill HR, which is helpful.
Manda?
HR, oof, this is another doozy. It's right up there with technology for me. It's really hard. You know, it's complex, it's complicated. When we acquired the school supply program, we were prior to that only a 2-person organization. And so with that, we actually acquired and have built a team. We now have 3 full-time staff and use a lot of contractors. And are having the conversation of, you know, should we bring them on and what would that look like? The benefits piece is brutal. It's incredibly hard to find something appealing. So I know we've had a lot of conversation in this group about creative ways to offer benefits that, you know, maybe aren't as traditional as the corporate America would be. I do find it incredibly frustrating and disappointing that there's not a solution out there for small nonprofits, and feel like there's a huge opportunity if somebody could get it together. But it's hard, and it's expensive, and so many different variables. So we do currently outsource payroll and 401k and all of that stuff, because candidly, I was managing our 401k for a while and missed, like, there were 2 legal updates you were supposed to do, made a mess of things. So we use ADP now, and it's just managed. We did use a smaller provider before that, and I just felt like they weren't doing everything that I needed to make sure was getting done. So that's just for our straight up payroll, administration, and 401k. In terms of medical, health, dental, it's horrible, and we are struggling right now. The plan that we found is just really not great. And, you know, I use the example with my board that I said, look, you know, for years we were such a small organization that I had my own insurance plan, like basically, you know, personal private insurance plan. And the organization now with a group plan is paying more for my insurance than I was, and the benefits are far worse. And so, you know, it's almost unusable for me. And so we're having a lot of conversation about how can we do this? And you know, I've asked the question, can you just say, okay, people, we're going to give you X amount of dollars, you know, have some sort of sliding scale based on your age to reimburse you for, you know, health insurance, and then follow up with, you know, like an FSA, but not necessarily worrying about, you know, whether it's tax, it's just a benefit. It's just a cash per diem almost. So we don't know. That we do have lots of lawyers involved, which I guess is a good thing, but lawyers can also, God bless them, overthink things and kind of get in the way of things. And you're like, let's just try this. So it's very, very hard for us.
Agreed. Just
I have a guy. Somebody says I have a guy. I want a guy.
Okay, well, here's what I wonder. Should we do a webinar with the guy? Like, we need somebody that can help us, because those of us who are able to underwrite, the amount of money we're spending, right to Manda's point, is we could have 2 staff members probably for the cost of what we're paying for health insurance, and not a great plan. It's the biggest crime, I think, in this country. Honestly, it's the amount of money that we're spending on bad returns. So sorry. Jess, HR question.
Yes, so I too realized we quickly, first 2 years we had no employees, then we hired an employee, and then since then we've doubled employees each year to where we're at 8, gonna probably be at 9 pretty quickly here, and realized you come up against a lot of HR issues. I think they're sometimes just, how do you hire? How do you fire? How do you, you know, talk to making sure people at the right fit within their roles and stuff. And so actually this year we restructured our board, and without bringing an HR person yet to the board, I formed a committee of HR people that I actually solicited through the local Rotary Club that I'm a part of. And so they're helping actually build the structure for it, which I appreciate. And then we'll help field a lot of those questions so that we can bring them on, as a contractor, if you will, without having to really pay them to be able to help offer some of those services. I will say payroll's been done by my co-founder who has a background in finance. But now that we're bringing more people on and she's, really retired, we're actually looking to do contract services with the local YMCA. They actually approached us about it. They're very interested in going into a deeper partnership with us in order to secure more supplies for their YMCAs. And so as a benefit to them, they were actually willing to, we need things like marketing department. We don't actually hire somebody internally to do that. We've used some contract services. It's very expensive. And so HR is one of those that we're looking to utilize them for. Marketing. I wrote down some other notes. I can't see. Anyway, we have 3 or 4 different things that we're looking to have them do. And I think even if we have to pay a full-time type salary to do it, but can get them to do 4 or 5 different jobs for us, knowing that each one of those don't take more than just a few hours a month, I think we'll be further faster.
Yeah, it's a tough one. Joel, what are folks saying out there in the chat room?
Oh, we got a few people. Amy in Cincinnati says they use Paycor, and that they also have a HR group locally that helps nonprofits called Employer Resource Association. So that's something we can look for locally, hopefully. Barb talked about she has the guy and said that he would do that, could potentially do that. So that's awesome. And Jane says they use paychecks for a gift for teaching, and that she is also lucky that she has a fantastic part-time person. So.
Again, it's the uphill, most expensive part, I think. And it's hard. And we've talked about this. I think we might've talked about it in October, the resentment of people saying, well, you chose to be in the nonprofit arena, so hence you should not be compensated as well, and you should not have the benefit of these things. And we say no to that, everybody's giving a lot to this mission. And so it's not like that, it's just not, it's not fair to think that we made a choice to be, taken care of less than other humans. So it's a tough one for sure. I maybe kind of covered this, but what is an area of HR that you find challenging? I wish you knew more then, or wish you knew more then, when you started, but what's your number one HR challenge? As you hear Jess talk about, we've doubled in staff size. Let's be candid about maybe some specific situations that you've dealt with an employee that this was like, I didn't see that coming. Why don't you guys just jump in as you have one?
Yeah, I'll just say culture. I mean, building a positive culture is, I think something for me personally, 10, 12 years ago was much different than it is now. And it is definitely playing the long game. But, making sure that with every hire that you're hiring based on cultural fit, just as much as you're hiring for skill. I've not always gotten it right. I've made a really bad hire, and I think I still have PTSD about it. She was with us for a couple of years, and just literally had a run-in with every single person on our team, including me. And it was like just really confronting. And she was one of those people that was always like, well, it's not personal, it's just business. It's not personal, it's just business. And I'm like, hold up.
Yeah. A mission-based world is not, it's not transactional. This is all personal, right?
Well,
the work that we do is personal.
You're not bringing half of or a portion of yourself to the job. You're bringing your whole self. And that means when you're having a good day and when you're having a bad day and when your dog's sick and, all the things. And I don't know. I mean, we I finally had an opportunity to get her out of the organization, which was still really hard. It's never fun to move someone along, but it definitely had to be done for the sake of our culture and our organization. And it is amazing to me what one toxic person can do to the whole, it's like the whole building just like started breathing again.
And I
when
think
that
sometimes
happened.
when we think that there's not enough people out there, who's gonna fill that role? We need that body.
Yep.
Take that risk, remove the toxicity, because good things will happen. Even the rest of the staff will step up to
It's the
fill in
victim-
that
it's
gap
the
because
victim
they're
by
so happy.
subtraction. Yep.
I agree, and I'll jump in there because again, prior to acquiring the school supply operation, we were a two-person show. When we started, we acquired some of the team members, and there were a lot of other dynamics. You know, it was right when COVID happened. It was, we took over this new operation. We had our first ever warehouse of our own, so there was a lot of struggles. But I was so afraid of not having a body in that seat that I kept some people. And for the first time in my nearly 20 years with this organization now, there were 2 years where I was like, this isn't fun. And I love my job. I am like so excited to be able to tell people, like, I can actually say I love my job. It's not always perfect. Some days, you know, are horrible, but generally speaking, I'm really pleased. And these people were just, and I think it wasn't necessarily their fault. It was just, we're a different organization than the one that was running this before. We are, you know, much more bootstrappy and building our operation versus, you know, the food bank is a very sophisticated, large operation in Atlanta. And I think that was really hard for them. And they didn't have the vision that, you know, it would work out. So they were scared too. And ultimately, I think, you know, we kind of came to the conclusion at the same time, just this isn't, nobody's happy. And it was, you know, Karen, I can't remember the words you exactly used, but it's like, that's exactly what I felt like, oh my gosh, wow, should have done that a long time ago. So I agree, you know, don't let fear hold you back from, because it can be very negatively impacting on the rest of the team too.
Yeah. And I think for me, I started to really think about the benefit of keeping this person versus the trust that I was losing with the rest of my employees if I didn't make the decision to let this person go. So when I really kind of came to that realization, I'm like, you know, let me hop on the phone right now and, you know, make it happen.
And the good things will come of it. Dave or Jess, anything to add?
I'll just add one quote because I would agree with everything that's been said so far, but I recently read a book that the quote in it was culture eats strategy for lunch. And I would agree with that. So you can
Say that again.
I love that.
Repeat it again, please.
Culture eats strategy for lunch. So.
Anything to add, Dave?
Yeah, it took me a long time to learn this, and you know, Karen getting rid of that person, I've learned that no one is irreplaceable. I don't care how good they are. If they're poison, if they're a rotten apple, bringing everybody else down, then you'll find someone. Either you do it for a while or share the wealth, you'll find somebody. No one's irreplaceable. I don't care how good they are.
Yeah. Agreed. Well, let's stay on this culture topic of Karen's. I appreciate. So as we and Amy just mentioned too, it's just tough finding folks out there. So retaining, keeping the staff, that team together is ever important. We've got a lot of people on this webinar. I'd love your opinion as to like, why, you know, what's something that you like when you hear Manda say, I love my job. What is one thing that is happening on your team that you feel adds to the culture and builds the culture that makes you want to stay there? And again, it's certainly the work is great, but there's more to it. So Karen, what's maybe some of the things you've been doing and putting in place over the years to try to get people to stay? It's not necessarily about money, right? It's not necessarily, we wish would, you know, on the HR side, but what other things have you been putting into play that you think are transferable to other of us
Yeah, I mean, I think too, it's just really like thinking about what type of workplace do you want to provide to the people that are coming into your office every day, whether it's a volunteer or especially staff. And so, I really am thoughtful about the workplace and how I, like where do I want to go to work every day? How do I want, the environment to be? And so kind of working to translate that into action for our team. And so we do a lot of celebrating. We celebrate everything, birthdays, anniversaries, end of year, holidays, and we do it pretty big, for a team of 10. I also think that people, obviously at the core of who they are, they're probably there because of the mission and they, enjoy that aspect of things, but they want to feel like they matter. They want to feel like they're doing a good job. So I do a lot of handwritten notes. I do a lot of email shout outs. I call people out at Huddle, just celebrating them for, sometimes it's really big things and sometimes it's really small things, but people really want to feel like they're recognized for the work that they're doing and that what they're doing is meaningful and that it matters. We have really started recently in the last probably 2 or 3 years investing in people. And so I'm on, the closing end of my career and really thinking about like who's going to come up into the ranks, what's going to happen when I retire and who's going to be poised to kind of take over. And so really investing in people and having those conversations, not just at their performance evaluation every year, but throughout the year, and encouraging them to look for things that they're excited about, learning and, putting that in the budget. And sometimes even when it's not in the budget, looking for those opportunities. Relationships, I cannot say enough about how important it is just to know your people. Know what they like, know what they don't like, know them on a personal level, because it is not just business, it is personal. And, I've tried to, personalize the work environment and the celebrations that we do and things like that. And it's just more authentic and meaningful that way. And then lastly, on the comp, we do extra PTO days around the holidays, especially, sometimes we'll leave early. We actually do a hybrid work schedule that was a result of COVID, where some folks work from home Mondays and Fridays. And we do dress for your day. I literally do not care what you wear to work as long as it is not, offensive, and that it's, not unsafe. Just dress for your day. We're not 5-year-olds. I don't have to tell you what to wear to school. So just, treating people like professionals. We do a lot of swag also. We have a lot of fun at work. And then lastly, I do a lot for Employee Appreciation Week. It's always on my calendar. I always start thinking about it at least a month in advance and start planning for that. And it's not big stuff, but it's, just a lot of little things throughout the week. It just makes people feel special.
Okay, well, all of those things are special. So hopefully we can capitalize on some of that. I know that you do shirts for your staff, Karen. I don't know if you've got colors for the days of the week, but as we've heard over the many years, never underestimate the value of a t-shirt. A $10 t-shirt can be worn. It's not only a something nice for your staff, but it's a walking billboard as well as all times. So Dave, anything you want to add on culture from
Just a
I know
couple
you've got your boss on the line too, so
Yeah.
I'm curious to hear it.
Dignity and respect for people. A simple thank you goes a long way. The compensation is important and you have to be competitive, but you got to treat people right, not just up, down, and across. You take care of each other and help each other out. Let people do their jobs. Thankfully, Steve, thank you for not micromanaging me. I've been there before here quite often. Trust your people.
Those are beautiful, beautiful words to live by. Manda, how's it going down there in Atlanta with your culture?
It's great. You know, again, this team that we have, it was funny because one of our biggest operations still remains the holiday gift distribution. And I was reminded kind of in the thick of it that most of them, this was their first year. And I was like, oh my gosh, I totally, you know, I want to be Karen. In my heart, I'm Karen, but in reality, I'm Tasmanian devil who forgets to do all those nice things. Like, I want to know when employee appreciation week is. I will put it on my calendar. But for the first time, I feel like everybody is really gelling, and we are doing our first, I haven't even figured out exactly what it's going to be, but some sort of retreat or gathering, to do kind of a postmortem, like, let's look at last year, everything, the good, bad, the ugly. So it's kind of a working session, and then I'm going to make them do some of these, you know, cheesy icebreakers. So let me know if you have some good ones. And then, you know, just have fun together. And, so I think it's important to build that relationship, to, you know, because that does build trust and commitment, because it, you know, it's not personal, it's business or whatever. Well, it is personal, because, you know, if you feel a personal commitment to someone as well as the cause, you're going to make sure that things get done, you know, in a certain way. So I think it's definitely something we have an opportunity to, I don't want to necessarily say work on, but to solidify and kind of, you know, put our values in a concrete, like, this is who we are going forward, with the underlying, the foundation of ours being, and I'm sure many of you are like this, when we serve families directly, especially, I feel very strongly that just because we are helping people who are struggling and are disadvantaged, are, you know, having trouble, whatever it is, does not mean they deserve any less respect from us, or in the process, or in what they have to go through to get the stuff that they need. So it's that, you know, creating a foundation of respect, which I think we have, but I also want to put it forth as kind of our, you know, our vision and value statement.
Jess?
So again, I shouldn't go last, because I just want to say to everything everybody
Ditto.
said. So I'm a kind of a combination. I would say I'm not as good as Karen. I do not readily recognize things very easily. I would say that I have a couple staff members who happen to be really good at that themselves. And so allowing them to kind of surface that and do that for others, you know, just saying yes, if we want to have an extra appreciation day, you know, go for it, giving them permission, you know, spend some money, you know, let's do some more things to celebrate. So even looking for some kind of staff retreat, you know, this year, it's kind of a difficult. We have a mixed age range, plus, you know, men and women. And anyway, so kind of looking for something like that builds camaraderie. I will say almost all of my staff have been first volunteers that we hired from within. And so we are building a really good volunteer culture too. We have a really good staff culture, but we're building a really good volunteer culture. So for people to say, you know, I'm willing to transition from, you know, working somewhere else, volunteering part-time, to, you know, taking a pay cut and working at a nonprofit, to me speaks volumes for our culture. And I would say it started really honestly with one of my first employees. He's just one of those people that everybody gravitates towards. So really trying to even model our culture around him and what he does. So we started even writing down what are the attributes that we appreciate most about him, and what is it that people are drawn to in him, and trying to make sure that that's something that we all replicate. Margaret, did you raise your hand to say something?
I just think that's lovely. Yeah, it's just lovely. It's so intimate. And I think, again, that this is the work when somebody's pushing, you know, if somebody's car out of the ditch, or breaking up a drug deal or whatnot. It's a very intimate job. It's very intimate. Hey, Joel's going to extend on something real quick, but one thing, I also aspire to be Karen. But one thing that I've done the last couple of years, that because I'm not great at note writing and all that, I stock our staff lounge generally during our peak month. And March is employee, I think, appreciation time, but it's not like I'm stocking it with heavy duty stuff. It's stuff that they can come and grab sandwiches. It could be soups. It could be stuff that's in the freezer, like, you know, the Michelinas thing, but I'll spend a couple $100 and swear to God, for 8 people, that will last all month. So
Yeah.
that, Manda, for people like us that
Love
like,
it.
I don't know, I can go to Kroger, bring it in, and then come in on a Sunday, stock the fridge, and then they'll think you're like, you know, mom.
Totally. I started
just saying.
doing that during our big like summer school supply drive. And they are just so grateful to come in and make a turkey sandwich.
Or
They
peanut
didn't
butter.
have to pack their lunch. It's just amazing to me how
It's
awesome
not
that is.
expensive, really. But Joel, speaking of expensive, what was Sarah's question?
Sarah asked how many people have line items, and I will say that that's something we've added in the last 2 years. Every department now has a line item for appreciating their employees. It's not huge, a couple $100 a semester, I think, is what I get to represent my team. But it's really nice just to know that money is there from our board, just to say, hey, go take your team to pizza, go take them for a drink, and that just helps remind me to go do that. So
Yep.
Anybody else want to respond to Sarah's question? Do you have a line item? Does that come out of your personal pocket as an executive director, perhaps?
We have a line item, and it's throughout the year with some peaks. So peak in at back to school for all the stock the kitchen stuff, and then a peak at the holidays where we have an internal team. It's either our programs team or our development team that plans whatever our holiday outing is going to be. I'll just give them the budget and they just figure it out. And so that's been kind of fun for them as well. I'll tell you one like super cheap thing that I forgot to mention. It's actually no cost that we started doing during COVID. And it was one of our staff members that just started doing this. And it was a question of the week. And so sometimes it's super simple, like, what's your favorite ice cream? And sometimes it's like a little deeper, like, you know, what's the biggest regret that you've had, or, you know, that kind of thing, which it takes a level of vulnerability to have that kind of question plopped in front of your team. But it really has brought us so much closer together as a team. And we've been doing that every week for 3 years now. And I'm telling you, I do not think that our group of people would be as close had we not started doing that.
So can I ask,
Seriously.
in what format, like, how does this, what do you do?
So we have a staff meeting every Thursday, and we basically pose the question the week before so people have a little bit of time to think about it, and then everybody just goes around and answers the questions. And sometimes it's super funny, like, what instrument do you wish you played? And sometimes, you know, it's a little more serious. It's primarily fun though. And we just get like the biggest kick out of that. It's really a great way to get to know people on an individual level.
We just have a few minutes left. And so I would say to the panel, maybe jumping down to my last question, what is your advice to those early in their career? And I don't know how many of you guys are on there, but I've learned a lot already today, and I've been doing this for a bit. What is your advice to those early in their career about handling challenging tasks? We'll start with Karen, then to Dave, then to Manda, then to Jess.
I would just say use the base camp. I mean, this group of people is an incredible resource. You know, certainly you can find other executive directors or nonprofit colleagues in your own community, but this group of people, there's no one that's going to know exactly what you're going through outside of this group of people. So I would say too, if you're early in your career, find a mentor. You know, just having someone to bounce ideas and problem solve with is just invaluable.
Dave?
I would say same advice I give my kids. They're challenging, difficult thing to handle. Ask the question, what's the worst thing they're going to do is they're going to say no. That's all they're going to do is say no. If you want something, ask for it.
Manda?
Yep. Yeah, and along those same lines, I would say it's very hard to not be afraid to take risks. And but I think, you know, it's a wonderful thing to take risks both personally and professionally. and that people will respect that even if you make mistakes and you own it and you learn from it. That is how we all grow, and organizations like ours that have to be very small and agile need to have someone who's not afraid. So go for it.
I just dropped mine in the chat since I knew we were close on time. Read some books. Yes, get a mentor, and then dig in and read some books. Start looking for, there's a plethora of advice out there.
I had written another question that used the answer was tequila. And so maybe for some of you, tequila also might be the answer. At the beginning of this, I did mention that this is a very organic group. And although Karen mentioned base camp, that base camp is a really robust group. It's predominantly, it's all people that are part of the Kids in Need Network. And there's a mess of people that are on this today that are not. So if anybody has a solution, Fred Weber, of how we could be continually collecting each other and talking to each other, my invitation list from the Outlook has a mess of, I don't know who half of these people, most of these people are, but you could grab anybody's email out of that invitation list. Again, if you're looking for help. And again, whoever just said, let's find a mentor, we're happy, this particular group too. We know who you could connect with. There's a lot of us in the room that also could be, really want to help. So if you are interested in a topic, there is a survey we've done. So we've kind of got a list, a bunch of us, of what could be next and next and next. But if you're interested in hanging on as a panelist, we try to rotate locations and leadership names, and doesn't matter how new you are or old you are, your voice is very valuable here. So some of my takeaways today, first of all, thank you guys. Grabbing that culture chat today was really helpful. I think that's probably something we can all grab onto, but the humility topic I think is important. Knowing your people, how do you find, and become more intimate in their knowledge? Obviously culture eats strategy for breakfast. I think we're all empowered with that. I loved the celebrate everything, Karen. I think that's important, and it's not necessarily with gifts, right? It can be with your words. And that's what I think Dave was saying, just be there, be present. Question of the week. Let's see how you guys do with that. And then investing in your team, whatever that means to you. I think those are really practical kinds of pieces of it, but we're all here for each other. Knowing we started on, I have to say, the sex toy topic, we'll won't end with that, but for those of you who were at the beginning, you'll see it in the webinar recording. Joel, tell us a little bit about the recording and how will folks be able to grab this, and then share it with their colleagues, board members, whomever, even though we did talk about some things.
So I am going to do my darndest right now to get it uploading to YouTube. And I am going to send out a link. It'll just be an open link. Anybody with a link can share. And I'm going to send it out to the same group that we've been sending out the invite to. I'll also save the chat here. And so if anybody wants that chat to go with it, we'll be able to have it. So look for that hopefully this afternoon if I am competent.
All right. Thank you guys so much. Have the best year. And go ahead, ma'am.
See you later. Thank you. Just wanted to say thanks.
Yep. Thank you. Appreciate everybody.
Have a great weekend. Thanks, Joel and Margaret.